TCU rallied back in the second after giving up 303 yards and 10 yards per play in the first half. TCU defense surrendered just 87 yards and 3.8 yards per play in the second half. And despite losing their starting quarterback, Kansas, they actually scored touchdowns on 4 consecutive possessions in the first half. So Kansas came in with some momentum. They just couldn't take away with the win. Mike, again, stats don't lie. What's your thoughts?
Man. Hey, like you said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And honestly, it started to look like Kansas State, like the game was just going to continue to put the game out of reach. But what does my guy Max Duggan do, man? He just keeps chugging along, just keeps putting the team on his back, keeps showing the coaching staff, keeps showing the fans why he should have came in as that number one guy, man. And I love, you can tell that he likes that. He likes being the underdog. He likes playing with that chip on his shoulder, because anytime he has that chip on his shoulder, he just looks like a completely different guy, man. And so shout out to TCU. Shout out to what they are doing down there. And like I said, man, we can sit here and say, oh, this team might have 2 losses or whatever, but look who these teams are losing to, right? I mean, we can say, oh, Kansas isn't good, but can we really say Kansas isn't good? Because they didn't start to lose until they lost their quarterback, right?
Right.
So like, we got to put context in these. Like, these Big 12 teams have been pretty good, man. And that was my worry was are they going to cannibalize each other? That's the biggest thing. And that's one thing that I don't think is fair with the college football playoff, because, and I'm glad for expansion, because sometimes you have these teams that, I mean, I feel like they've been going through a gauntlet. How many Big 12 teams have we been talking about like every week? Normally we have at least we've had like two games a week, maybe sometimes.
Right.
Like, we've been
Every
talking
week.
about
Right.
Big 12 every week.
True. That's true that.
Right. EG, what's your thoughts?
All right. So last week I mentioned, man, it's time I respect TCU a little more. And one thing I want to say is second half adjustments. So TCU, they gave up 28 points in the first 2 quarters. That last quarter, they gave up 0 points those last 2 quarters. Zero
Right.
points. And Max Duggan answered the bell when it was his time to answer the bell. The guy was throwing the deep ball. He couldn't get his run game running. I think he rushed the ball at least 15 times. Those guys were all over that. He had about 13 yards rushing, but man, he had the passing attack ready. He put those guys in position and let the running backs do their job. Man, shout out to TCU for the second half adjustments, man. They got a pretty decent defense. They stopped Kansas State. Kansas State is a ranked opponent too, so that was a pretty good win for TCU. Like I said, after this week, we have to start respecting TCU. They're still undefeated. Max Duggan is a gamer. He's a baller as well. Shout out to TCU for that second half adjustment and playing defense, allowing no points in that second half.
Man.
Oh, yeah. TCU is first in the Big 12, as you know. They play West Virginia next week, and it looks like the only really tough competition they have is against Texas. And if you were catching that game yesterday, you know that Texas can be defeated, and Quinn Ewers isn't. I mean, he isn't perfect, so we'll definitely
Yeah.
see.